The first part of part 2 is the highlight of the holiday for me, being in the Canadian Rockies, and we travelled all the way down from Jasper right down to Waterton Lakes National Park before moving on to Toronto. Overlander Falls was named after the early pioneers who travelled overland and obviously had to cross these rivers, and these displays tell about some of their adventures. On the top of the screen you can see a train going through the trees. So 1st of July, Canada Day, Jasper. As far as I know, it's the 243rd anniversary.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Morning. How's everybody doing? Average. Parade you down Bourbon Street. We'll hit all the hot spots. We'll meet all the big shots down on Bourbon Street. Oh, yeah! St. Louis Blues and hello.
And before anybody asks, I don't know the couple posing with the Mounties.
Parks Canada and many local organizations have arranged this flag raising ceremony.
Then we sing the Canadian National Anthem, some in English, some in French, while they raise the Canadian flag.
True patriot love in all our sons command.
The flag raiser seems to be having a bit of a problem with his pole.
The true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free.
And then it's time for the parade. I've tried to keep this to a minimum, just so that people don't fall asleep. On the other hand, some people might think this a refreshing change from mountains and trees and waterfalls and rivers. This group are a bit boring, they don't seem to be doing very much. 2 or 3 of them are just walking along and talking. These kids weren't just throwing the wet sponges at the floats either. They're the little water cannons. Here comes the big one. My first thought was that these firemen are collecting for donations like they tend to do over here, but no, they were giving out sweeties and flags. This Parks band is made up of school children. What North American parade would be complete without a pink Cadillac? Well, that's the parade over with, and the flag raising's been done already. It's time for some lunch. The 2 Pete's went for a burger and I went for a cup of tea and a slice of blueberry crumble. And then we met up at the park to see the other activities. They were very lucky with the weather, because there certainly looks to be some storm clouds gathering here. This is our walk up Malign Canyon, on our way to Malign Lake. this is an area of limestone, and this is water joining from the underground tunnels and passageways that's been carved out over the ages. You just feel like diving in. On our way back to the car park along Malign Canyon on the other side. We came across these Inuksuk, the Indian way markers. This is Medicine Lake, one of the ones we passed on the way to Malign Lake. And further along we came across a moose crossing the road. And then at last we reached Malign Lake, from where we start our walk, the Bald Hill Trail. We're quite a way up the Bald Hill Trail now, looking across Malign Lake to the mountains beyond. These shots are taken from Bald Hills Lookout at just over 7,000 feet and the summit of our walk. We couldn't go any further because of the conditions. We didn't have the proper equipment, i.e. crampons and ice axes. And here we're on the road on our way back to the campsite at Jasper. Here we're on the Pyramid Lakes Trail overlooking the Athabasca Valley. This is Pyramid Lake. This is hopefully picking up the pink granite. We spotted these deer on the verge as we're on our way to start the Wabasso Lake Trail in the Valley of the Five Lakes. the lakes have only been given numbers and we saw them in reverse order. So this is lake number 5. Then lake number 4. Lake number 3. Lake number 2. And then Lake 1. If I can hold the camera steady enough, I'm trying to zoom in on this little ground squirrel. Quite a bit of mist rising up out of these valleys. Now we've arrived at Wabasso Lake, and this lake was formed by beaver activity. A bit further round the lake, Peter found this canoe and fancied having a go.
Oh, look at it leaking.
Well, once he got it afloat, it was okay. Getting it back was a different matter.
That'll be off the campsite for tomorrow morning, you know.
Every time we got it turned round to come in forwards, the wind caught it and turned it round again.
That was hard work. Whoa. Cheers, mate. No, hold on, mate, turn it down, Pete. Because it says it went stern, so put it back straight away. Cheers. Yeah. Over to it. That wind's stronger than what I thought.
Not a very good morning this morning, and it's a shame because this is our journey down the Icefield Parkway. Here we're at the top of Athabasca Falls and Mount Hardesty there in the background. our next stop at Sunwapta Falls. This is the Weeping Wall. I didn't find it too impressive, but apparently in winter it freezes up and people come from all over the world to climb it. You can just about make out just a couple of glaciers there in front. They're the glaciers at Bow Lake. The end of our journey today was in Yoho National Park, just west of Lake Louise, at a site called Kicking Horse Campground. The site is over 4,250 feet above sea level. This is the start of our walk today. These are Takaka Falls, and we visit some other falls on the way up. As you can see, it's a beautiful morning. It ain't half cold. It's beginning to warm up a bit now though. This is our first sighting of a hoary marmot. I have to admit I didn't know what it was at first. We asked one of the park wardens later on, and seeing as we were so close, I've been a bit careful because I didn't know how vicious it was going to be. These are Laughing Falls. And then we came to Twin Falls. This is Twin Falls Chalet. Just see a glimpse of another marmot there. The chalet was built in 1908 by the Canadian Pacific Railway. It was used as lodging by the mountain guides and their clients. This is our road back to the site. Today's walk starts at Emerald Lake, which you'll see more of later. Emerald Lake's at about 4,200 and odd feet above sea level, and we go to Emerald Basin, which is at about 4,900 feet above sea level. So not a great deal of height difference, but quite lots of ups and downs on the way. Well, this is Emerald Basin, and I've started a 360-degree panoramic shot. And then we're back to Emerald Lake, and I'm sure you'll agree that it was worth waiting for. So now we're back on site and watching the squirrels running around.
Not much, I don't suppose.
And here we are at Lake Louise. Lake Louise is 5,794 feet above sea level. As you can hear, this is one of the more popular tourist spots than we've been to before. We soon left Lake Louise and started our walk to Lake Agnes, passing Mirror Lake and Big Beehive on the way. These are the waterfalls just below the tea house at Lake Agnes. And then the peace and quiet of the countryside is disturbed by this. I suppose it is necessary though. There's a lot of people use these paths and they have to be repaired. This is Lake Agnes. Lake Agnes is 7,100 feet above sea level. We walked part way around Lake Agnes and over the ridge to the left. This clip shows a little bit more of the path that we follow as it rises from the shore of the lake. Here we are at the head of Lake Agnes looking east. We have another Inukshuk. And now we're looking down on Lake Louise from Big Beehive Lookout. And then still on Big Beehive Lookout, looking south, and then panning to the west. Certainly a lot of thick snow up here. There's quite a bit of it seems like it's ready to avalanche, unless it's avalanched recently. And another look at Lake Louise with the chateau on the edge. And this is Moraine Lake, another lake in the Lake Louise area, surrounded by rocks and trees, just for a change. Moraine Lake is just over 6,200 feet above sea level. There's another marmot. At certain times of the year, people have got to walk in groups of no less than 4. This is actually enforceable by law. And here we've got a bit of a glacier to cross. And at 7,480 feet is Eiffel Lake and the Valley of the Ten Peaks, and this is supposed to be where we're going to stop and turn round. We're also supposed to stay together because of the threat of bear attack, although I must admit there's not much chance of that in this open country. Anyway, they'll have to just turn around and come back when they're ready. As we were walking back, we heard quite a loud bang, but this seems to be just the remains of whatever was a bit of an avalanche. And this is looking north from Consolation Lakes at about 6,500 feet, and eventually panning right round 360 degrees. This looks like another avalanche waiting to happen. You could have waited.
Was it an avalanche, that noise then? Oh no, it was me blowing my nose.
On our way to Banff, we spotted these red deer at the side of the road. And then these longhorn sheep. Here we have a few of the flowers that we passed on the Hart Mountain Trail. As the mist slowly rises out the valleys, we're looking back now over Highway 1 to Lac d'Arcs. Right, well I better get going again because we've a little bit of a scramble to do here, quite an easy one. One of 2 or 3 that we had to do. But the other 2 have gone on, so I can't afford to have a slip here. Looking east.
I didn't know this was climbing. I know it's scrambling, isn't it? So that cramp climbing. So it's going down.
Mountain has 2 summits, and this is the view from the first one. I don't think there's much difference in altitude between the 2 summits, and both about 6,500 feet above sea level. So our onward path. As you'll see, there's quite a few photographs of my boat here, but I couldn't resist taking some clips of these flowers. It seems to be growing at an altitude of about 6,500 feet. And this was our only sighting of a grizzly bear. So we've moved south now, right onto the USA border, to a place called Waterton Lakes National Park. Very, very windy all the time we were here. This is our walk to Crandall Lake. And right on cue, here is Crandall Lake. Well, that's the end of the Rockies now. It's all the flat plains of Saskatchewan. Here we are on our way to Swift Current. You notice the crack in the windscreen there. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger. We'd reported it 2 or 3 places and nobody seemed interested, so I thought, well, why should we bother?
Action.
15th of July. Just past Regina on the way to Melville and eventually to Riding Mountain National Park. Don't point that in my face. Go! This is Peter trying to break the monotony whilst we're on the way from Swift Current to Wassa Gaming, Riding Mountain National Park. So this is Wassa Gaming. Quite a nice little place. Down by the lake here and the shops it was fine. But up in the forests and the trees where the campsite was, the mosquitoes were absolutely horrendous.
This.
This is probably going to be one of our last walks, and here we've just stopped off to look at the bison on our way up to start the walk to Lake Audie, and as soon as they've got the sandwiches made we can get going.
Oh. We've got half a metre and 1 slice left to get after that.
There were loads and loads of dragonfly and quite a few butterflies along this track here, but it was so difficult catching them on the camcorder. Peter had forgotten to lock the car, so it gave me a chance to play around a little bit with them without getting left too far behind. And like I said right at the very beginning, from butterflies to bears. These are some sort of a game bird, like a grouse or something like that.
Here, bitty, got some peanuts, peanuts. Here, boy.
This is Amassinibi campground at Kenora. We arrived here yesterday on the 17th and just had a couple of lazy days. And I guess this must be cooking lesson number 2. Looks like I'm having exactly the same meal as I had last time. Now, perhaps that's potato and not pasta. So after the couple of days we had at Kenora, we drove to Thunder Bay which certainly lived up to its name. We just had one night at Thunder Bay before driving on to Pukesaw National Park. That's around the northeastern side of Lake Superior. Here we're just having an apple stop at the northern end of Lake Superior. This is still Lake Superior. This is called North Beach at Pukesaw National Park. Then we move around to Horseshoe Bay. And this is Halfway Lake. Well, we're on our way to Bruce Mines, and the crack in the windscreen seems to have got a little bit bigger, but anyway, it never cracked right across. Here we're travelling through Lake Superior Provincial Park.
Very good one, then, is it?
Is it a real owl or just a carving?
Not a very good owl, no.
Well, we're overlooking Lake Huron from Bruce Mines today. This is Ostler Lake Provincial Park Campground, just south of Parry Sound. This is Pete, just getting up for breakfast. And then eventually Peter emerges. This is Leisure Time RV Park near Palgrave, just north of Toronto. I don't know why this clip's all wobbly like it is, but I've just left it in just to show that we had a swim in a pool. Now this is a place that needs no introduction. Niagara Falls. These are Horseshoe Falls on the Canadian side. And then American Falls, or Bridal Veil Falls. And then coming round to Rainbow Bridge. This is a Skylon Tower, and just a general view of Niagara while we're waiting for the falls to light up. It's the Maid of the Mist, going to the bottom of Horseshoe Falls. Peter decided against the Maid of the Mist and went on the behind the falls walk instead. I understand they were disappointed. This is where people come out. I couldn't actually pick out Pete and Peter. And then from the top of Horseshoe Falls. Now just imagine you're in a battle ready to go over. Ready? Tight now. And this is Toronto, looking out of the window of the Delta Chelsea Hotel. Skyline of Toronto. The CN Tower peeping through there. This is just one. There's quite a few drunks just sprawled out on the path. Market area. And now a closer look at the CN Tower. And in the evening there was this sort of a carnival type thing. It was actually going on most of the weekend, or all of the weekend even.